Imagine being an Olympic medalist in the deepest field in that event in Olympic history, owning a top 10 fastest time ever ran for that event, and revolutionizing how that race was ran for the coming generations, and being only 20 years old. And then just as fast as you rose to stardom, within 2 years, you disappear from elite track forever, being one of the greatest what-ifs in track and field history. Well, that's exactly what happened to Earl Jones. Let's flash back to June 19th, 1984, the Olympic trials finals in the USA. At this point, this was the deepest field ever assembled in US Olympic trials history, and the stakes were as high as ever. In the finals, you had John Marshall, an up-and-coming 800-meter specialist who was 21 years old, the defending indoor NCAA champion for the 800 meters, and he was eyeing for a spot on the Olympic team. A similar story with Johnny Gray. The 24-year-old at the time had just set a personal best a couple weeks before, running 1:45 point, and was looking to take over the scene from the veterans of the sport. You had Don Page, the defending 1980 US Olympic trial champion, who had qualified for the 1980 Olympics, but tragically could not go because the US boycotted the Moscow Olympics. Then you had the 19-year-old sensation Earl Jones, the silver medalist in that year's NCAA outdoor finals in the 800 meter, coming second to Joachim Cruz, looking to make his mark on the national and international scene. Coming into this race, his personal best was 1:45. And last but not least, you have 7-time USA national champion, including the 1984 national champion, James Robinson. The 30-year-old had been the dominant force in the United States for the 800 meter for the past decade and was looking to hold on to it right now. He had just set a personal best in 1983, the year before, running 1:44.32. So this race, the stakes were so high, and the storylines were set for something amazing to happen. Would the young guns live up to their promise and dethrone Page and Robinson, or will Page and Robinson continue to dominate the US circuit? And it did not disappoint. Earl Jones took the race out hot, stringing out the field really quickly, and Robinson, who started in lane 8, decided, this is a long 800-meter race. I'm going to go out super conservatively, and he tucked in way in the back. Johnny Gray employed a similar style, although not as far back as Robinson. He hung out at the back too, which if you've watched Johnny Gray races, this is a little bit uncharacteristic of him. But the two up front was Earl Jones and Stanley Redwine. 350 meters in the race, Johnny Gray starts working his way from 7th up the field. Earl Jones took everyone out in 50.2, and it's very important to note, at this time, the 800 meter was really looked at as a distance event. You would go out at even paces. Very few people would go out in 49.50 unless you're running 1:41, which only Sebastian Coe and Joachim Cruz was at the time. So a 1:45 runner going out in 50.2 was absolutely insane. Jones insisted on keeping the pedal to the metal from 400 to 600, still hammering that lead with Redwine struggling to keep up and swinging to his side with the potential hoping to pass if he slowed down, but Jones wasn't slowing down. With 300 meters to go, Johnny Gray made a massive surge, suddenly bringing himself into contention, while Robinson still hanging out the back. His racing style in this race really reminds me of Dave Waddle in the 1972 Olympics and Yuri Borzakovsky in the 2004 Olympics. Let the field go out hot, run 800 meters exactly, and swing by and catch everyone at the end. But Robinson had left it really late. With 170 meters to go, he had passed 7th place, and with 120 meters to go into the final straightaway, Robinson swings into lane 3 to try and get that top 3 spot to make the Olympics. Earl Jones was getting tired. He had gone out so fast in the first 400, held Redwine off for the next 200, and he was still in the lead. Johnny Gray was hawking him down, but Jones still had something left at the end. He was kicking it in. Johnny Gray was catching, and it was a photo finish. The winning time was 1:43.79, a new American record, which was 1:43.91, but the problem was nobody knew who had actually won. The judges analyzed the photo finish, and they gave the gold medal to Earl Jones, with Johnny Gray coming 2nd place. But guys, that's not it. There was also a photo finish for 3rd place between James Robinson and John Marshall. Both Robinson and Marshall had set personal bests and were 100th of a second off the old American record. Robinson had thought he got the 3rd place. He thought he was going to go to the 1984 Olympics, which was in that city, Los Angeles. And when they evaluated the photo finish, they gave Robinson 4th. John Marshall, the 21-year-old, would be making the Olympics with Johnny Gray and Earl Jones. I feel so bad when I watch this video. You could tell Robinson had really wanted to go. He really thought he won. He's a total veteran of the sport. He's 30 years old, and to race the best race of your life and miss a team by less than 1/100th of a second is just so painful. But Earl Jones, coming into the race with a 145.79 personal best, had run a 143.74 and was the new American record holder going into the Olympics. And that's where we're gonna pick up next. Hey, very quickly, if you like this video, please like and subscribe down below. Back to the video. The freshly 20-year-old Jones was in the semifinal with the defending Olympic champion, Steve Ovett, and one of the favorites to win, Joaquim Cruz, which was also a rematch from the NCAA Division I Outdoor Finals. And in the race, Jones did what he had always done. He had taken the race out hot. Again, I know it's very common nowadays to see runners going out insanely hot, 48 high, very, very seldom, but 49, 50. But back then, it was just not the normal. Jones took the race out, and with about 370 meters in, Kichuk of Kenya decided, you know what? This race isn't fast enough, and surges past Jones to run a 49.56 opening lap, which is crazy. Joaquim Cruz, who was hanging out behind Earl Jones, started shadowing Kichuk of Kenya, mirroring him in the outside of lane 1, and suddenly Jones was boxed in. Omar Khalifa of Sudan had made a huge move past Earl Jones on the outside and was just hanging out there. And Steve Ovett eventually starts coming too. So Jones was stuck on the inside of the triangle with 100 meters to go. He was tied for 5th with 100 meters to go on the inside. It looks like space wasn't opening up, but Cruz was so strong at the time, he started sprinting again. So did Kichuk, and suddenly the field started opening up, and Jones had something left too. It was 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and a distant 4th for Steve Ovett. Jones would be making the finals, coming 3rd place. A man who was a 145 high runner a couple months ago just ran 144 mid to make the finals. And when you go out as fast as Jones does, you control the race. You decide, hey, the race is going out this fast, you can't take it back. And he did. But what Jones was also so good at, when people go out that fast and they start dying, they really start dying. And when they start getting past with 100 meters to go, very seldom do you see the guy who went out insanely fast start keeping up. But Jones did not just keep up. He put in a surge to solidify his 3rd place and looked like he had more in the tank. So the finals was going to be a doozy. And in the finals, we had a masterclass. We had Joaquim Cruz, a 141 point guy. We had Sebastian Coe, the world record holder, another 141 point guy. We had Billy Kichuk, the most dominant 800 meter global racer in history. The defending Olympic champion Steve Ovett. Johnny Gray. The rematch between Earl Jones and Johnny Gray was set as well. And the race delivered to its fullest. The first 100 meters was blazing. Kichuk from lane 8 was insistent that he wanted lane 1. You could tell when Earl Jones was running, he wanted the lead and he was running for it, but he had misjudged how fast Kichuk was going. And eventually, it's just not worth the investment in the first 200 meters to run faster than someone. So Kichuk takes the lead, and Joaquim Cruz just bolts his way from 100 to 200 saying, no, I'm in 2nd place. He was running slightly on the outside of lane 1, but he was in great position. But suddenly Jones found himself in 3rd on the inside. There wasn't much he could do. The whole pack settled into a slightly more gradual pace the next 200 meters, going through in 51.07 at the bell lap. Cruz pulls closer to Kichuk's side, and Sebastian Coe from the back starts swinging on the side of Earl Jones. All of them positioning themselves very well for the final 150 meters. The rest of the field had to make these big moves to catch up to the first 4, but they just couldn't hold on. It was a race between Kichuk, Sebastian Coe, Joaquim Cruz, and Earl Jones. And with 150 meters to go, Cruz is still on the outside of Kichuk, and Kichuk is getting tired. With 100 meters to go, you can tell he's dying. Cruz doesn't have to swing out anymore. He is already on the outside of lane 1. He just starts bolting it. Earl Jones swings out, sees Cruz go, and he follows him. He goes, but Cruz is just too good on this day. He is so strong. This is prime Joaquim Cruz era, and Sebastian Coe comes from behind too, chasing down Earl Jones. And the winner's Joaquim Cruz. Sebastian Coe comes 2nd, and Earl Jones comes 3rd in an amazing 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Finals. The 20-year-old had just won an Olympic bronze medal. If you were born in the 1950s, 60s, or early 70s, you know this story. Everyone who's a middle distance runner knows Earl Jones. They talk about him. They know him as one of the greatest what-ifs in history. and they talk about the 1984 season. The 1985 season wasn't as eventful as the 1984 season for Earl Jones, but he returned to Eastern Michigan and won the NCAA 800-meter finals and ran nationals that year, and I believe came 6th. It wasn't a great year, but it wasn't a bad year. When you're this young and you're that fast for middle distance, you will have off years. Progression isn't a steady line. You have to adapt to your new body, you have to adapt to your new fitness, and who knows if he had some injuries and everything, but he still had a very solid season. It was the 1986 season where Earl Jones was having another breakout year. This was the season by far he had raced the most in his career. He had run a 1:13.8 600 meters back in May, and later in the year had set a new personal best in the 800 meter, running 1:43.46. At the time, Johnny Gray had already lowered the American record to 1:42 point, but Earl was 4 years younger and proving that he's not done yet and that he's only coming into his prime. But only weeks after running 1:43.4, the fastest time Jones had ever run in his life, tragedy struck. After racing in Brazil, Jones was visiting Orlando, Florida, and was driving when he got into a major car accident. The car accident involved his car flipping over multiple times and the dashboard crushing his knee to his seat. Jones had to have multiple surgeries to repair his knee that never was quite the same after. Eventually, he had to get all of his ligaments removed from his knee. Once that kind of thing happens, it's over. The rising star of track and field was suddenly blackened and fell back to the horizon. In a preventable instant, greatness was snuffed cold. Earl Jones' early departure from our sport left so many questions. Would he have resumed the rivalry between Johnny Gray? Would he have set the American record again? Would he have gotten the world record, like so many people seem to think? If you've been a track fan since the 80s, Earl Jones remains one of the greatest what-ifs in our sport's rich history. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.